Well, here we are back at Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia for rounds 9 and 10 of the 2014 GT Asia Series. We're getting very close to the final stages of the 2014 Championship, and things are really starting to heat up. In past years, of course, we've seen Stefan Mucker and Frank Yu, more predominantly Frank Yu from the Craft Bamboo Racing team, battling with Mok Weng Sun, the two-time GT Asia Series champion. You see that car, the car he shares with Kitasawa on the front row. In fact, there's two Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458s on the front row for this race, but they're battling Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the McLaren MP412C that Mok Weng Sun shared with Hamaguchi last year in the 2013 Championship. Of course, Mok is back in the Ferrari he loves so much. 2 weeks ago, he won his second consecutive Sepang 12-hour race right here at Sepang. But it's Alessandro Guidi. Of course, he is a very experienced Ferrari campaigner. Won the Daytona 24-hour race in the GTD Ferrari earlier this year, and he controls the start. But it's Kitasawa who's drawn alongside the Japanese driver, a very experienced GT3 campaigner, squeezes across into the side of Guidi in the run into turn one. But Roy Glass, there he is again. He was the man that dominated early practice here back in August, 4 weeks ago, for round 7 and 8 of the championship. He has a look into turn two, but Sawa's closed him out. A little bit messy further back in the pack, the GTM class cars bringing up the tail end of the field. But up front, it's Kitasawa, and the car he shares with Mok Weng Sun. 11 points behind in the championship, behind Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi coming into this round. But the Bell-Hamaguchi McLaren had a drama last time round just because of the pure heat here at the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. Ferrari 1, 2, 3. Stefan Mucker now in position 4. And that's a great job by the Mike Racing SLS of Bjorn Wertheim to be fifth. That's Alex Jung's had a spin. Looks like contact there, so that'll be investigated a little bit later. But it's Kitasawa, Roy Glass, Alessandro Guidi. He's driving alongside Richard Wee this weekend. Craig Baird, Richard Wee's normal partners in Australia, running both V8 Supercars and Porsche Carrera Cup. So it's Ferrari, the Craft Bamboo Aston of Stefan Mucker and Frank Yu, who won the first. Oh, contact! We've got a contact coming into which part of the circuit is that? That is turn number 9. That's contact between the race leaders. So the glass just straight around or up the inside rather, of Kitasawa under brake. Sawa gave him room, but Guidi thought that was enough room for him too. So none of those cars appear to have a problem, but Glass again, he showed here last time, very, very fast in the spirit of race Ferrari 458, of course prepared by AF Corsa. And AF Corsa prepared the Personal Thuris car that was so successful here 12 months ago during the 2013 round of the GT Asia Series. Coming up to turn number 15 to complete the opening lap, Christopher Mees trying to keep Davide Rizzo, the man who dominated the first round of the championship at Korea International Circuit. It was a long way back in May earlier in the season. But Rizzo and Lou have been very good. In fact, they're third in the championship, so they'll be very keen to move forward. But Mees protecting the inside line. Of course, Mees driving with Jeffrey Lee, the car owner of the Absolute Audi. Mees takes the position back under brakes, but Yoko Mizo, what a great job he's doing in the 2011 Samson Chan Ford GT. Look at them battling for position. The 2014 Ferrari is really working hard to get past the 5.4 litre Ford V8 Ford GT of Samson Chan. It's nice to see them back and running strongly. But the Glass running away at the front of the field. Wertheim taking a look now inside Guidi. Are they going to make contact coming through turn number 4? Yes, Guidi's gone off. There doesn't appear to be too much contact, but that's given Wertheim the position. So that's a great result for the Mike Racing team. It's a gorgeous orange and black Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT3 of Michael Chua and his brother Joseph. Michael's been the mainstay in that team so far this year and improving every time out. And having a driver the calibre of Bjorn Wertheim, of course Super GT regular in an SLS AMG, is really going to assist his pace. And they ran fairly strongly here 2 weeks ago at the Sepang 12-hour. Finished a number of laps down on race leader Mok Weng Sun. See the Guidi car just having another look. Mees behind him, Yoko Mizo. Then it's Davide Rizzo in the BBT Ferrari 458. The sister car, the car that's leading this race, the Roy Glass Nasrat Mazayan Ferrari 458, both prepared, of course, by AF Corsa. The factory support network for the Ferrari team worldwide. And a large number of cars. I like a little bit oversteer. They're very quick to get on the gas is Guidi. He'd be keen to get past the big SLS of Bjorn Wertheim as again Christopher Mies moves to the inside. Doesn't quite have the legs of the big Ford V8 nor the Ferrari behind him. But of course, Christopher Mies, a very, very experienced campaigner, one of the leading young drivers in the world in the Audi R8, rejoining the Absolute Racing team again this weekend as he had 4 weeks ago here at Sepang, and of course a race winner with Jeffrey Lee in the pouring rain at Fuji for round 6 of the championship. They took victory there. It was a fantastic race win for them, set up very nicely by Christopher Mies. Of course, Jeffrey Lee, no slouch in this car, has been a race winner on his own in the past, and also with Marty Lee. See a little bit further back, that's Earl Bamber battling another one of the new cars into the championship this round, and that is the Fun 88 Racing Lamborghini FL2 GT3 of Richard Gilbert and Michael Choi. Still Yokomazo manages to push on. He did a great job here last time out. He'd not driven the car before and was immediately in the top 10 in Samson Chan's car. Samson, of course, been running this for a number of years in the past with the Craft Racing team. Christopher Mies, though, using every inch of the circuit and then some to hold that position. So qualifying earlier in the day saw a great battle between Guidi and Kitasawa. It was Guidi who set a stunning 205.789 track record for the GT Asia Series. 205.789 to take pole position away from Soa and Mock. It was Soa behind the wheel in the opening session, of course. 206.254, and then Stefan Mucker, who alongside long-time partner Frank Yu in the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin Vantage V12 set the third fastest time. Of course, they won the opening race here 4 weeks ago to put Frank Yu well and truly back into this championship run. In fact, coming into this round, Frank Yu is position 5 in the championship on equal points with Rizzo and Anthony Liu. 94 points to the 99 points of Soa and Mock, and 110 points to Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Again, it's a tough weekend. It's going to be a tough weekend for the McLaren MP412C drivers. Intense heat and humidity of the Malaysian circuit really affected the team last time. They made the podium in the opening race here 4 weeks ago, but Rob Bell admitted that was very, very hard work and they had to put it in faultless run. You see the car at the back of the field there, just at the top of the screen behind the BBT team, sorry, the Nissan from Tetsuya Tanaka and Matayoshi Yoshida. Of course, the B-Max Racing Team entry that's been running with the series this year, just immediately behind Max Weiser in the NB Team Aston Martin Vantage V12. They made the podium in round 8. Kane Yang, the car owner and his usual partner, is not here this weekend. In fact, they've had to bring in Lucas Ferreira from Spain. Gentleman driver, but loosely used that term. Races GT Open, has raced GT Open for a number of years. A good friend of Max Weiser, so he stepped in for Yang, who's got business commitments elsewhere this weekend. Was unable to make the event, which is a pity for them because they've been very, very competitive. And in fact, are the reigning Blancpain Super Trofeo Lamborghini Series champions in the Asian region, and Max and Kane have won all 6 of the races this year so far in defending their championship. So it's nice to see them running so strongly in the NB Team Aston Martin. They've of course been on the podium a number of times this year. Still Christopher Mies holds Yokomizo and Rizzo at bay. He's doing a great job in that fantastic Audi R8, of course prepared by the Absolute Racing Team in the Asian region. They do a great job, and it's nice to have seen them gather back a victory already this year. Jeffrey Lee and Christopher Mies taking round 6 at Fuji Raceway a little bit earlier in the year as Alessandro Guidi continues to push Bjorn Wertheim. Some fairly big names here this weekend. We've seen some great drivers with international credits. Of course, Bjorn Wertheim, former F1 test driver. Guidi, as we say, is the Rolex 24-hour GTD champion for this year in a Ferrari 458, a 5-star motorsport team. Then you've got, of course, Christopher Mies as Guidi takes a very, very wide line on the run onto this very long front straight here at Sepang International Circuit. Of course, a Formula One venue, has been since 1999. Herman Tilke design, the German engineer who's responsible for many of the greatest circuits in the world, certainly Formula One venues. And it has been a mainstay of the GT Asia Series over recent years, but of course each season the cars get quicker, and as we saw during qualifying, the pace set by Guidi was just incredible in 2:05. Lap record, of course, though, set by a Formula 1 car, but by one Pablo Montoya in 2004. So as a guide, that was a 1:34.2. That's one of the Shen Porsches, the GTM class Porsches. That's the number 16 car. Of course, that is Wayne Shen, reigning champion in the GTM category, so that's not a good start to his weekend. He was on the podium here last time around, but of course both the GTM races last time we were here 4 weeks ago were won by Takuma Aoki. Of course, the Parallels 500cc Grand Prix rider, been very handy behind the wheel of the Lango Racing FL's Lamborghini LP520 rather. So we see Guidi takes the position back from beyond Wernheim. Wernheim won't be too happy with that. He'll try and get it back, crosses under the inside of the Ferrari as they go into, looks like turn 7 and 8. That battle's continuing to rage. As we come through turn 10 and 11. That in fact turn 14. I might have messed up my corner numbers there. Sorry about that. It was turn 14. So Wernheim back in front, but Guidi's shown plenty of pace as you see Wayne Shen crawling up that long straight between turns 14 and 15, trying to get himself back to pit lane so that the team can put some effort into getting his car prepared, of course, for the second race. 2 1-hour races highlight each round of the championship, or each race of the championship. This is the 5th race on the calendar, so rounds 9 and 10. Predominantly 60-minute races with the GT Asia Series, with a compulsory pit stop mid-race where every driver must stop for either a driver change, and in some cases like Wayne Shen, who runs alone, much like arch rival Francis Chia, who's not here this weekend. They will have to stop for their minimum allotted time, which is normally 75 seconds, and then rejoin the race and continue on. But the pit stop window is open for a set amount of time. Every driver must, or every team must, complete their stop inside that window. If they run outside the window, they have to stop again within the window to ensure that they conform to the rules for the GT Asia Series. Of course, Control Yokohama tyre that has served the series so well. Very durable. The teams have 10 tyres across the course of the weekend. That includes qualifying and both 1-hour races. So tyre management is a big part of it, of course, in extreme heat. And depending on the tyre wear on the circuit, a lot of left-hand tyre wear here, as you can see with the teams as they pull through the corner there. Clockwise rotation here at Sepang International Circuit. That is something that they need to take into consideration. So tyre management will be something that the teams will be looking at very closely. Very similar conditions, fortunately, for many of the teams that were here 4 weeks ago. So they have data to run on, and we saw it qualifying. The times are still relatively close. Unfortunately, last time around during qualifying, it was heavy rain during both sessions, so there wasn't really a great gauge of what the qualifying setup should be. But as I was reminded during the presentations of the previous round by Anthony Lee, the teams had run through dry setup during unofficial practice on Thursday and through official practice on Friday. And of course the rain started to pour very heavily, torrential, just 10 minutes before qualifying. So every car was set up with a dry setup. So really they didn't gain any data out of that, and there was some chance that in fact the race may have been wet. So some of them were setting up with a wet setup. But of course both races were dry last time round 7 and 8 of the championship, as again Guidi and Wernheim continue this battle on, heading through the turn 1-2 complex. The quick right-left switchback, and Christopher Mee still holding down position number 7 rather. This is 4th and 5th, 6. So it's the 2 Ferraris rather, still up front, with Stefan Mucker in the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin. He shares with Frank Yu, race winner here last time round for round 7 of the championship, still holding down position number 3. Roy Glass turning in some pretty stunning times. He's well and truly into the 2:08s, but not too far behind him. Keita Sawa is making sure that he keeps within strike, but he doesn't want to. We're talking about Taiwan. He doesn't want to push his Yokohamas too hard because he's not racing Roy Glass for the championship. The man he is concentrating on, of course, is Rob Bell back in the teams, the Clearwater Racing teams, McLaren MP412C as Guas against Guas rather. Guidi closes in on the tail of that gorgeous Mike Racing SLS with Bjorn Wertheim at the wheel. He will stop and hand the car over to Michael Short to continue his run, and Short has improved another second and a half on his personal best here this weekend. So all he needs to do is just keep chipping away and improve his run so that he can be as competitive as drivers the likes of Mok Weng Sun, Frank Yu and Richard Wee, who run in the I guess the amateur part, or the gentleman drives the car as part of the championship, so they will all be bolted into their respective cars for the second segment of this race, the second stage of the race. They qualified the cars in the second qualifying session, and the pro drivers qualified in the opening session. So further back, so fourth is Wertheim, fifth is Green, sixth is Christopher Mees, seventh is Yoko Mise, still doing a brilliant job in Samson Chance Ford GT, and it's Davide Rizzo, and that looks like the Fun 88 Lamborghini ahead of Jonathan Benton, Australia, in the second Craft Bamboo Racing team cars. There's the two turbo-powered cars bringing up the tail end of the field. We're talking about the heat. That's one big issue that has impacted, of course, the 3.8-litre twin-turbo McLaren MP412C of Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi. Again, we saw it earlier in the season, so just 4 weeks ago. The last time we were here at the Malaysian circuit, the intense heat and humidity of the circuit really had a big impact on the cooling of the McLaren and the Nissan. Of course, the GTR, they both suffered quite badly and finished well down the order. It was a minor miracle for Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi to make it through to the podium in the opening race, round 7 of the championship, but they were unable to improve on that, allowing Kitasara and Mok Weng Sun, who won one of the two races here last time round, the second race, round 8 of the championship, to close to within 11 points of the championship lead. Roy still leading in that beautiful Spirit of Race Ferrari 458, prepared by AF Corsa, but right behind him, Kitasara, widely regarded as the best GT3 driver in the Asian region, has been very competitive in a wide range of cars over the years, regular in Carrera Cup, has been regular in the GT Asia Series, and of course has shared already this year 3 wins with Mok Weng Sun to help the two-time champion close to within 11 points of his teammates, and a good solid result here again this weekend, and certainly in this race will close them even closer in the championship points. After this round we go to Shanghai in China in early October, and then it's off to the final race of the year, a fast 12-lapper off sideways, Alessandro Guidi coming out of the final turn. There's no way to keep the pace up, and that's going to allow Bjorn Wertheim to pull alongside, and I would expect closing down on the run down to turn 1. 6.3 litre V8 versus 4.5 litre Ferrari V8 takes the position away. He's going to have another look. Oh, he's made it. He's tapped him. Just oh yes, there's contact through into turn 2. That's allowed Guidi to get back into position, but hopefully that contact hasn't pushed any of the bodywork onto the wheels. It's slowed Wertheim quite significantly. One wonders whether the car's just leaning to one side. I think there's a tyre deflated here. The left rear appears to have gone down on the Mike Racing SLS. That's disappointment. This would have been their greatest run of the year to date, and unfortunately for them, that'll be a very, very slow run around this 5.5 kilometre circuit. A little bit of smoke there by the look of it, emanating too from the number 12 Richard Wee Ferrari 458 with Guido wheels. One of the Porsches, looks like one of the GTM class Porsches, has just gone to the gravel trap there, so that's disappointment for them. Quite sure which car that is. That may have been John Shin off the circuit, but not too much sign of smoke now for Guidi, but like blood to a wild animal, Christopher Mees will have the sniff. He'll notice that there's been some smoke coming from the rear of that Ferrari. He'll smell it in the cockpit of his Absolute Racing Audi R8, and he will close in for the kill because he wants that position. He wants to move forward, and try and add to his tally of wins this year, which of course includes some incredible races. Has been a front runner this year already with the Audi factory team at both the Nürburgring and Spa 24-hour races. There's a number of victories under his belt. He'll be looking for another one here this weekend, and he can sense that Ferrari in front of him is just struggling a little after contact. Now there's one of the two joint points leaders in the GTM class, Jackie Jung, of course a former champion in the GTM class in the Tiger Racing Audi R8 LMS Cup car as he races in the Audi R8 LMS Cup. The driver he's sharing with this weekend, Margie Lee's a former outright race winner in GT, but he's jumped in on the GTM class car this weekend. He's a rival of Jackie Jung's in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, and the two of them are sharing driving duties to combat the Ferrari of the Taiwan Top Speed Racing Team. Of course, George Chu and Thomas Fjordbach. Thomas and Jackie Jung are at the top of the championship points coming into this round, and Jackie Jung will be doing everything he can to try and break free of the young name. The two of them, 96 points, share the championship points lead. George Chu is sharing the driving duties, of course, with Thomas Fjordbach this weekend. 90 points in the championship, and then Takuma Aoki, who won the last two rounds of the championship here with Japanese driver Ken Murata in the number 34 Durango Racing Lamborghini LP520. They are the drivers that are contending for the championship. Some debris on the circuit there, just an exit, and that won't help Guidi's cause as he just run over the top of it. Richard Wee will step into this car after the compulsory pit stop, and Richard Wee, under with the assistance rather of Craig Baird this year, has continued to improve. Craig Baird, the New Zealander, racing in Australia this weekend. You can see damage on the right rear. Might be as a result, wasn't likely to be as a result of that contact with Bjorn Wertheim. They've traded paint or vinyl perhaps in this case a number of times during this race, and that's going to what certainly affected the performance of Wertheim, who's already been in the pits. You can see a very wide weaving, very wide, a lot of oversteer. He's been pushing this Ferrari 458 very hard. I think those guys are using the labouring a little bit of result, using all the circuit. Of course, very quick, half a second up on Kita Sala during qualifying earlier today, the opening 15-minute session, which was a very impressive time. We expected Roy Glass, who's leading this race, still to be the pace setter, but Glass was only able to grab the fifth fastest time during qualifying. In fact, that's not quite correct. During qualifying, of course, for that session, it was. I've got paperwork everywhere. But it's Roy Glass who set the fifth fastest time in qualifying, which was probably a little bit of a surprise, but he's 2:06.5, very close to the times he set here during round 7 and 8 of the championship. And Davide Ridgestone looks once more to try and get past Yoko Mizo in that gorgeous Ford GT of Samson Chan, but he just can't make it past. Just doesn't quite have the legs where he needs to. And Yoko Mizo's doing a brilliant job to retain that position and keep himself in front of Davide Rizzo. Of course, the car he shares with Anthony Liu, third in the championship. They dominated the opening round of the series and surprised a number of the series regulars. On debut, they won both rounds at Korea International Circuit earlier in the season. Not just one, but two, and that put them straight to the top of the championship points lead, and they've stayed very close to that all season and been regulars on the podium. Very wide Yoko Mizo, all four wheels over the ripple strip into the runoff there as he continues to stay in front of Rizzo. Now Rizzo's keen to get past Yoko Mizo, although again, these guys are all mindful of where they sit in the championship. Yoko Mizo's points, even if he does defeat the number 37 BBT Ferrari of Rizzo and Liu, will take a couple of valuable championship points away, but he's not going to affect the championship position because he and Samson Chan haven't run a lot of races this year in that car, so they're not in title contention. But certainly Rizzo and Liu are aware that every position further forward they finish are valuable championship points in trying to close down the lead of the two Clearwater racing cars. Still labouring further back, Rob Bell, 12th or 13th at the moment in the field. Further back there, you can't quite see them, but that's the Durango Racing car, of course, of Akash and Andy, and car owner Delantha Malagamua from the championship. Oh, it's not reigning Carrera Cup Asia champion, running very strongly in the Porsche Super Cup series over in Europe. It's been very competitive at circuits like Monaco and Spa, and he's right in the mix there and running certainly towards the front of the Carrera Cup Asia series field again this year. It's the LKN team. They're a big supporter of his, and it's good to see them running together here this weekend, but clearly dramas for the Porsche GT3R pitting early. The pit stop window will be open fairly soon. The drivers have been very careful they don't affect any driver changes prior to pit stop window opening, so we need to keep a close eye on that. It's pretty rare because they're well versed now with the 1 hour races and the compulsory stop when they can and can't stop, how long they have to stop and how efficient they need. As now Guidi's all four wheels, so there's more damage to the number 12 Clearwater Racing Ferrari. He's run over a spoon drain there, and that's broken something loose in the rear of the car, which has just flown off and been collected by the number 7 Audi R8 of Christopher Mees. Mees will have another sniff and see something dragging. It looks like brake cooling hose being dragged behind the number 12 Ferrari. It's whether it's tyre wear or something has broken as a result of these off-track excursions or contact with Wertheim. It certainly doesn't look as smooth as certainly the car in front of it, which is the Kitasawa Mokwen's son Ferrari 458. So Guidi's well and truly in the wars, but he's pressing on. He's not hanging around. Although he's going to have to be very careful. He's got black flags as a result of that debris that he's trailing behind the car. I mean, it is only rubber hose, cooling hose of plastic, so it's not going to create a great issue. It's not metallic, it's not heavy bodywork, but even so, officials will keep a close eye on that. And if that doesn't come off shortly, you could almost expect that the number 12 Clearwater Ferrari of Guidi will be down pit lane for a drive-through penalty, or certainly for the team to effect some kind of repairs. So it's still Roy Glass leading. Kitasawa's keeping a close watch because he's the one in the box seat. Glass and team owner or car owner Nasrat Mazayan aren't in the championship right at the front of the field, so that's not going to affect Sawa too much. He's keeping a close eye on the Bell Hamaguchi car, but also on the Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu BBT Ferrari, the red and yellow number 37. They have course prepared Ferrari 458. They are the drivers that are in this championship. There's just 4 races to go after this one. One more race here as the NBT team coming to pit lane, and Max Weiser jumps in. Well, that's interesting. I had surmised that it might have been Weiser behind the wheel, but in this instance it was Lucas Guerrero who started. Usually the pro driver starts, so that was an interesting one, because Max Weiser in this team is considered the pro driver, I would have thought. But anyway, that's all sorts. Still trailing that brake cooling duct behind him, Guidi, although it may have now come loose. It doesn't appear to be much. Oh yes, there it is, blowing still in the breeze. That's going to have to come off very soon, or he's in a little bit of pain. Although the pit stop window is very close to opening. There's a glass on the number 38 Spirit of Race Ferrari continues to lead. Well, Davide Rizzo's come in early in this stop and handed over to Anthony Liu. We were talking about Pro-Am a little bit earlier. The pro in this car is Davide Rizzo. The Am considered in this car, essentially, he qualifies the car second, but has proven to be anything but an Am, is Anthony Liu. The two drivers raced in a Lamborghini last year in the Asian Le Mans series. They've run in Carrera Cup in the past, but ever since the first round of the championship at Korea International Circuit, all the way back in mid-May, these guys have stunned the GT Asia Series regulars and been very consistent. In fact, very little usually separates the pace of Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo as one of the Delango Racing Lamborghini Gallardos returns to the battle. Kitasawa looks comfortable, not doing anything dramatically. Certainly sits on the circuit a lot better than the Alessandro Guidi car we were just watching, with the brake ducting trailing behind it. Roy Glass too, very evenly balanced, not doing anything dramatic, not working the wheel hard, mindful of tyre wear. He wants to hand the car to Nasrat Mazayan and make sure it's right. So a number of GTM class cars now making their stop. A number of the GTM drivers, of course, driving alone, so they doesn't really matter when they stop. Part of the Pro-Am mandate, I guess, is that you will want to make your pro driver run as long as possible in the car before handing over the amateur driver, just to ensure that you get the most out of their speed. But of course you can't do any more than about 55% race distance as a pro driver, and you must stop within the compulsory pit stop window. So there's a range of things these teams need to look at. Strategy certainly plays a big part. You won't see any great mechanical changes to these cars. That's not what the pit stop's about. Tyre changes in some cases will be effective, but again, a 10 tyre bank across the weekend. So what they take from their fresher tyre bank here for round 9 of the championship, they can't use in round number 10. So that's something these drivers have to be well and truly aware of as John Shen returns to the GTM class. He's made his compulsory pit stop. So it's Aguas still leading. Kitasawa and Stefan Muka is keeping a close watch. Of course, one of the drivers that Sawa does need to keep a close eye on too is that Kraft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin, because Frank Yu is not too far off them in the championship battle. In fact, it's just 5 points between Frank Yu and Kitasawa and Mok Weng Sun. Now, there's a new entry, number 79 car, which is just a one-off entry at this stage. It's Graham Dowsett and John Curran from New Zealand. They ran that car in the recent Sepang 12 hour, and figured they might as well hang around and see what the GT Asia Series is all about. The guys have been having a great run so far here in their Porsche 997 Cup car. Now it's Max Wise on screen. The number 9 NB team Aston Martin Vantage V12. The NB team kicked off earlier this year, two-car team to start with. Andrea Caldarelli, of course, runs in Super GT. He's been running in the Formula Nippon Series 2. He's been very quick in both those categories and put the number 9 NB team, Aston Martin, to pole for the very first round at Korea International. But other commitments have had he and car owner Sean Fu elsewhere this year, so it's dropped back to being a one-car operation with Kane Yang and Max Weiser doing the bulk of the driving. They've been on the podium a number of times. In fact, on the podium the second here last time out at Sepang International Circuit. Davide Rizzo looks like he might be through now on Yokomizo. Although Yokomizo now has pitted to hand over the car to Samson Shan. There you see the number 99 Kraft Bamboo Racing Racerlink supported Aston Martin Vantage V12 in pit lane, and also the Guidi Richard Wee Clearwater Racing Ferrari. Davide Rizzo continues to circulate. In fact, that's not true. It's Anthony Liu behind the wheel. Of course, the driver who saw the checkered flag at the opening round, Korea International. Now he'll be running very strongly. Settle into the car. He doesn't have to worry about getting the car up to speed. That's being done as he comes up to the number 99, Daniel Bilski, Jonathan Venter, Kraft Bamboo Racing, Aston Martin Vantage. He wants to take the position away. He's gone around the outside of him. Warmer tyres, warmer car, fresher driver. And so we were just talking about that early stop. Will have Anthony Liu's head programmed well and truly, so he'd be right on the limit. He'll have the car sorted. He knows where he is. Daniel Bilski has just come out of pit lane. Everything's fresh to him. And he wasn't able to keep the number 37 BBT Ferrari behind him. Richard Wee now behind the wheel of his number 12 Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458. Their stop is completed, and he will be hoping to slot back in position and take advantage of that great pace that Guidi showed during the opening session. You're having to do it without quite as much drama, of course, as Rizzo and Liu, with Anthony Liu behind the wheel, continue to circulate very quick into the 207s and 208s already, Anthony Liu. So he'll be hoping to push on, because he knows if he can make up some ground as the others make their compulsory stops, he may well be in the box seat. Now there's Yokomizo in now. Samson Chan can help him strap out. And the two turbo-powered cars have pulled in the Nissan Skyline, or the Skyline rather, the GTR, BMAX Racing team, and the Clearwater Racing team. Rob Bell just steps casually from the car as the team strap Hiroshi Hamaguchi in. There's Takuma Aoki in the car he shared with Kenny Rata and won the GTM class both rounds here last time around. Still circulating very strongly. It was a very impressive run from Aoki. He hadn't run here before in the GT class. He'd been away in Cambodia and Thailand Cambodia and Vietnam racing in an off-road event and wasn't able to get to the Sepang circuit until the Saturday morning. So he was straight in the car for qualifying. The car was set up for the drive. It was pouring rain. He set pole position. Kenny Rada did the same thing. And they both raced away from the field in the two 60-minute races. A number of cars now completing their compulsory stop. You can see Hamaguchi rejoining back a little further. And that gorgeous chrome Clearwater Racing Championship points lead. McLaren, as Anthony Liu goes in very deep under brakes, and the car just steps out sideways as he really leans on it to try and get around those cars coming out of pit lane. Very tight entry into turn one, then a quick switch back to the left hand, turn two. Jeffrey Lee now in the Absolute Racing out. He takes over from Christopher Mead, who did him such a great job. The Samson champion behind the wheel of the Ford GT, and that's the position. Of course, we saw those two cars nose to tail during the early stanza of this race. Jackie Young now behind the wheel, the points leader in the GTM class, rejoins the field in Tiger Racing Audi R8 LMS Cup. And then it's the BMX Racing Nissan with Motoyoshi behind the wheel. Still a number of driver changes going on. That looks like the FL2 Lamborghini Gallardo of Delango Racing Team, perhaps now with Delantha Malagamua behind the wheel. Richard Wee battling him for position. It is in fact the FL2, and that's likely to be Malagamua. With Akash Mandy, a driving star, local driver who's done such a good job to kick off on his debut with the Delango team and in the GT Asia Series. Frank Yu now behind the wheel of the mighty 99 Hulk. Sorry, 97. Wrong, I apologise for that. So Frank Yu will be back behind the wheel. Of course, they won round 7 of the championship. They'll be hoping to replicate that this weekend and put Frank back into the championship battle. He shared with a number of drivers this year. Australian Warren Luff at the opening round in Korea, and then Richard Lyons, or Topolus Lyons, of course, is a Super GT regular and a favourite of the Craft Bamboo Racing Team. They've been very successful in a number of events around the Asian circuit, so it made sense for you to jump in with Lyons, and they were very strong all weekend. Lyons set pole position as Michael Schur coming down to turn one, doing a good job recovering after that unfortunate tyre deflation that Bjorn Wertheim suffered during the opening stanza of this race after contact with the number 12 Alessandro Guidi Ferrari. Now he's coming up behind Mok Weng Sun. And it's likely that Mok will just continue on. He'll be keen to press on as much as he can in this race. He knows full well that the number 96 Mike Racing SLS is well down in this race order, so it's not somebody that he needs to be racing, so he's not going to push himself too hard. And there's George Chu and Thomas Fjordbach in the number 88 Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge car. Taiwan Top Speed Racing Team have had as many as 6 cars entered in a number of rounds of the GT Asia Series for this year. It's great to see them doing so well. Some rumour that Chu and Fjordbach might step up to the GT3 class for the 2015 season, and that'd certainly be great to see. They've been a welcome addition to the series, and always been very professional, very strong with the GTM class, and as a result is Fjordbach, who's sharing the points lead with Jackie Young, and George Chu currently second in that championship, which isn't a bad run when you consider the drivers the calibre of John Shen, Wayne Shen and Francis Chia, who have dominated this class over the last couple of years, have been competing as well, and yet those guys are still managing to punch out race victories. Mok Weng Sun still leading the number 96 Mike Racing SLS, which has looked very racy this weekend. Roy Glass just about completed his stop by now. Nazrat Mazayan at the wheel as a Glass continuing to circulate. And it looks like it's Nazrat Mazayan. So Nazrat's leading this race after his compulsory stop. We're talking about a minimum compulsory pit stop time of 75 seconds. Certainly he is. And there is Mok Weng Sun further back, and not too far behind him, Anthony Liu. I think probably the coming man in this race, and the one that will be of most concern to Mok, will be number 37's BBT Ferrari 458 Anthony Liu. He knows that Liu, the Chinese driver, has been very competitive this year and has been a race winner. Of course, Mok Weng Sun has too. He's had 3 wins this year with Kitasoa, but he knows that he's also battling that team for the championship, so he's aware that they're making inroads now. As long as the race continues to unfold that way, that's the number 99 Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin. Daniel Bilski's had a spin. He may have well been tapped. Is there any damage? No visible damage in the right or left rear of the Craft Aston. Had a spin down there at turn 1. We're talking about Mok Weng Sun and Kitasoa being aware that they're battling for the championship, and if things continue to go the way they are not hampered by any issues, and they finish in this position, they're going to be second in this race, then they will have made a big inroads on the Hiroshi Yamaguchi Rob Bell car, which is currently still languishing at the tail of the top 10. So it's a nice result here for the Clearwater Ferrari team, because they will pull some serious points back on the points leader ahead of round 10 of the championship tomorrow. But Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi know that they just need to keep punching out laps, get the most they can out of this poor, labouring McLaren MB412C. Again, the heat is having a big impact here. It's not something that the McLaren team's used to. There's a lot of testing done in Europe, where conditions are a lot cooler. Certainly in Australia, conditions are a little bit different. Certainly in America, the conditions are a little bit different. But you come here to Asia, you get events like this with 97% humidity and temperatures in the low to mid-30s. It really does have a big impact on the performance of these cars to be able to keep them cool and also to extract maximum performance. And of course, the hot-running turbo-powered cars have a big impact on their ability to get pace from the car. Now, Nasrat Mazayan is well off the pace of Roy Aguas. You can see there visibly how much ground Mok has made up in the number 3 Clearwater Ferrari, and still the lurking Ferrari 458 of Anthony Liu closes in. Thomas Fjellbach behind him now in the 88 GTM class car, doing what they can to try and keep up with Jackie Hill and keep that battle alive. One of the things we saw here last time around, we're talking about the intense heat, but it's also the way the cars make their power. The Ferraris earlier this weekend were 1, 2, 3, 4 in official practice, and it was the 2 Clearwater Ferraris, the 2 Spirit of Race Ferraris, sorry, the 2 AF Course prepared Ferraris, the one on screen, the 37 and the 38 Spirit of Race. Daniel Bilski's had an issue there by the looks of it and had to come into pit lane, assuming that was the 99 and not the 97 of Frank Yu and Stefan Mucker. And during the last round of the championship, as the Craft Aston returns, we might get a quick look inside and see which one that is. In fact, we've got the Frank Yu. Dramas there for the Craft Bamboo team. Just can't quite check on the timing monitors who that was. This page isn't immediately in front of me. Okay, so we'll keep track on that one and see what's going on there. But the Ferraris were certainly quick. The Aston Martins were saying when we were here in August that the power delivery of the mid-mounted engine Ferraris, and certainly it was an advantage for the Lamborghinis on screen and also the Audi, all mid-mounted engine cars, was greater than the ability of the Aston Martin with that big 6-litre V12 in the front of the car, front engine cars, to get the power down coming out of the slower corners here at the 15-turn, 5.5 kilometre Sepang International Circuit. And we saw that reflected in qualifying times. The Ferraris were quicker, and a number of the guys were saying they were concerned with the pace of the Ferraris that might be able to match them coming out of the end of the straight. But the way the Ferraris were able to get their power down, they were losing anywhere from 3 to 12 kilometres an hour on outright pace by the end of the straight, and that was certainly affecting performance. So it looks like the Aston teams have done a little bit of homework since then. The void isn't quite as big, but up front, there you have it. Nasrat Mazayan's about to lose the lead of this race to Mok Weng Sun. And Mok is down the inside into turn 1. You'd expect him to take the position away. Mazayan's doing a fantastic job. He too has improved over the course of this weekend. Of course, professional businessman, amateur race driver, but has continued to improve under the watchful guidance of Roy Aguas, who is no slouch behind the wheel of that number 38 Ferrari 458 Spirit of Race. Now his teammate Anthony Liu nips up the inside to take away position 2, so still Ferrari 1, 2, 3, but it's now Mok who just 2 weeks ago won his second Sepang 12 hour, not in this car, in the team's secondary Ferrari 458, a car that was in fact damaged during the Bathurst 12 hour earlier this year, a quite dramatic accident at the top of the mountain. Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Fuji were behind the wheels of the two cars. It was the NB team, the B-Max racing team, Nissan rather, that made contact with the Ferrari, the Clearwater Ferrari. Quite significant damage to the Ferrari. It was rebuilt and run quite strongly last 2 weekends ago at the Sepang 12 hour to give Mark Williamson his second consecutive 12 hour victory and his second victory in 2 weeks at the Sepang International Circuit. Right at the moment he's on task for a third consecutive victory in that gorgeous chrome and day-glow orange Ferrari 458, working hard. You can see what's looming behind him. There's not too many laps left in this race, but Mok Weng Sun will be doing his utmost to, one, retain that front-running position, two, conserve his tyres, and three, keep calculating exactly what the championship points will be like if Anthony Liu manages to get through on him and take another victory in this series. So far this year, victories have gone to Mok Weng Sun and Kita Sawa, 3 victories, 2 to Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo at the opening round of the championship. That's the car that's immediately following the race leader, the number 37 BBT team. Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi have 1 win to their name. Christopher Mees and Jeffrey Lee also have a victory to their name. And the final race winner so far in the 8 rounds to date in the 2014 GT Asia Series, Stefan Muka and Frank Yu, and that was round 8 of the championship here. Sorry, round 7 of the championship rather, here at Sepang International Circuit 1 month ago. Frank Yu did a brilliant job during his stint. He's improved out of sight too this year under the guidance of drivers like Stefan Muka and Richard Lyons, and he set that victory up as now Jeffrey Lee closes in on the tail of Samson Chan in that gorgeous Ford GT, and you'd expect that Jeffrey Lee, multiple race winner of the GT Asia Series, will take that position away. But interestingly, it looks like Hiroshi Hamaguchi now closing in behind them. Just have a quick look and see if that is the chrome McLaren. In fact, it is. So they've had a good recovery. This is battling for positions a little bit further back in the field, but that is a nice result for Hiroshi and Rob Bell if they can manage to continue to move forward. That's fighting over positions 6 and 7 at the moment, so still a little bit of time left in this race. Lights ablaze on the points leading McLaren MP412C, lights ablaze too on the Ford GT. That's probably as a result of that opening stanza that was put in just earlier by Naoki Yokomizo. We saw him monstering a number of the outright competitors in that ageing Ford GT. We say aging, it's only 2011 model, but hasn't done an awful lot of miles, but been very competitive in past seasons. And certainly technology's come a long way, and these cars that run at the front of the field, 2014 specification GT3 cars, are certainly a wild beast, but very much improved as Hiroshi Hamaguchi top of the screen there, just getting completely sideways on the exit of turn 14. We're talking about the damage that can occur as you see the Mike Racing team, SLS Mercedes, that had made contact earlier in this race with mine's just left me, with of course Alessandro Guidi in the Ferrari 458. The one thing these guys have got to be very mindful of is you have a close look at the fluoro yellow tips on the corner of the leading Ferrari 458 of Mok Weng Sun. They are aero aids. They're called dive planes, the ones on the front. They assist the turn-in on the fast sweeping corners, of which Mok is in the middle of one right now. They assist the performance of the car. So when the guys bang wheels, or bang doors as you call them in saloon car terms, the one thing that they have to be mindful of is they don't do damage to the aerodynamics. The big splitter under the front of the car, you can see it there quite visibly, the fluoro orange strip at the bottom of the front of the car, that too can be affected. Carbon fibre, very strong, but once you start to bang guards or bang wheels, damage can be done, and that affects the ability of the car to corner at speed. speed. And a circuit like this length, 5.5 kilometres, with some very fast sweeping corners, the turn 5, 6 complex, turn 10, turn 13, turn 3, they're very high speed or mid to high speed corners. Anthony Lou's in the middle of another one now. If they lose the performance of the car in those corners, that can have a dramatic impact on their overall lap speed. And in a situation like this where Mock is extracting every ounce of power from that 4.5 litre Ferrari V8, they want to make sure that they're not losing wholesale seconds because they've banged wheels over position. And that may well have affected the Guidi Wii car, which is a little bit further down the order, around position 5 currently. So that will have an impact, and so too on the MBT Mercedes-Benz. You can see damage to the rear of that car, and they have flat floors. The rear diffuser has a big impact on the performance of the car, and so too the rear wings, although it's a pretty serious incident to have to damage the rear wings on these GT3 cars. But we're talking about the 2011 Ford GT versus a 2014 Ferrari 458 as an example. A lot of the differences between those two cars are related to electronics, the way the engine maps and thinks, so the brain of the car, but also to aerodynamic tweaks. There's lots of changes in aerodynamic technology based on what scientists and engineers learn, and those teams apply that to each additional update on the car. The Audi on screen, for instance, the Audi R8 Ultra, you see the wings hung from the top, much like the LMP1 prototype, whereas the Aston Martin on screen here, as it turns the corner, you see it's hung from below, much like the previous generation Audi R8. The Audi R8 LMS Cup cars too, in all likelihood, I can't see one on screen right now, are also hung from underneath. So they're just changes that occur over time as a result of engineering knowledge. So each car has its own abilities. We're talking about the front engine car on screen, the mighty 6 litre V12 Aston Martin Vantage, which is front engine versus a mid-engine 4.5 litre V8 powered Ferrari. And of course you've got a 3.5 litre aluminium V8 twin turbo powered mid-mounted engine McLaren, and that makes power differently of course to a 5.4 litre V10 powered Audi R8, again mid-mounted. So there's a variety of different cars in the field that make their power different based on the location of the engine, based on the performance from the engine, the characteristics of the engine. The one great thing of FIA GT3 competition worldwide, it is controlled to a point where there is a balance of performance every year, and quite often there are updates during the year. The FIA will make adjustments to things like the air inlets, to the weight of the car, to the ride height of the car, and that will affect the performance of the car. The idea being that get each of these 2014 specification cars to the same level of performance. So they often test with one single driver, the team's providing the car, so the driver at least is a consistency, but depends then on the circuit they test on, what level of long straights it has, what ambient temperature it has, how much heavy braking there is. So those two have an impact on performance. Of course, position of weight does impact, and that's the engine in many cases, where the bulk of the weight in a car is. That does affect the way the car accelerates, the way the car stops. As Anthony Lou gets held up by one of the GTM class cars, he won't be happy with that. He's very vocal about it last time round, although he did admit between rounds 7 and 8 of the championship, after he'd had a number of minor incidents with GTM class cars, and he certainly wasn't the only front-running car that was caught up in other incidents with GTM class cars. He did admit that it was a bit of an issue, but certainly between rounds 7 and 8, just a day apart, there was a big change. Now you can't blame the GTM class drivers. The reason is there's such a big differential in performance. So whilst they're concentrating on their own race, they're concentrating on their own line into a corner, when all of a sudden you see a car with much greater performance, much better brakes, dive under you into that corner to try and take the apex away, then in many cases there's not much you can do. And of course the GT3 class drivers are concentrating on their own race and often trying to gain as much position, or like Mock at the moment, eking out the perfect lap to ensure that he stays ahead of Anthony Lou. So he's not concentrating or worrying that there's going to be a slower car in the middle of the corner right when he wants to get to that apex. The other thing that you look at this is the Fun 88 Ferrari. I'll start again. Look at the fun 88 Lamborghini Gallardo FL2 GT3 that was on screen, and now the BBT Ferrari. Visibility is very limited. There's very little, if any, rearward visibility. Some of these cars run rearward facing cameras, so they have a better view out the rear of the car. They're also wearing head and neck safety devices. The HANDS device, which has been responsible for saving many a driver in heavy impacts, that does limit their ability to move left and right, not too badly, but when you consider you're low in the car, the windows aren't great, there's very little rearward vision, you've got the HANDS device on, you're concentrating on a race, and you're at the absolute limit of adhesion under brakes going into a corner and suddenly another car's there. You can see the reason why contact often ensues and why there are issues between drivers. So in the heat of battle, obviously, many drivers like to apportion blame. And that's just a factor of life. So often afterwards there can be terse words said, but everyone is obviously understanding that they're all in their own separate races, and often cooler heads prevail and things press on. So it is an issue rather with the different performance levels of the cars. So both the GTM class drivers are mindful that some of the faster cars are on them, just like Jackie Young on screen now. He's aware that Anthony Lee, you can see looking in the rear vision mirror, is coming up on him, and also the GT3 class drivers need to understand that if they get to an apex and there's already a car there, then they might have to wait. If they lose a tenth or two or a half a second or a second, then that's what they need to do. As Daniel Bilski goes door handle to door handle with Samson Chan, he thought he might be able to go around the outside there in the 99 Craft Bamboo Racing Aston, but he hasn't been able to do it. Now he's under attack from Thomas Fjordbach in the GTM class Ferrari 458 Challenge. Hopefully no damage there to the second of the Hulks. They did such a good job here last time round. Jonathan Venter and Daniel Bilski, the two Australians, ran very strongly, but so too that Ford GT. That's been very competitive, and that's over track position. That's 7 and 8 currently in this race. So the laps are starting to wind down. There's only about 5 minutes left to go in this race, and the battles continue. That's position 6 currently held by Samson Chan. He'll be keen to continue on with this fight and hold his rivals behind him. And the Land of Malaganua too is running very strongly. That appears to be his car immediately behind. Number 24. He has done a good job, of course, been sharing with Australian Nathan Antunes in recent times. They were quite strong here last time round and suffered a litany of dramas at both Autopolis and Fuji, but got the car back to its pristine best the last time round here. Squadra Course factory mechanics were assisting them, and they got that car going quite nicely. But Antunes this weekend is in Australia racing the Australian GT Championship in the trophy class in an Audi R8, and has been very strong in that championship, was right in that title battle, so he had to make the decision to continue that title assault in Australia, and that allowed Akash Nandi to get in behind the wheel of the number 24 Delango Racing Lamborghini, and it might in fact be Akash Nandi behind the wheel now. We didn't see which of the drivers chose to take the opening stanza, but certainly it's looking very racing. Young Nandi is a very talented young driver. Again, Daniel Bilski takes a position. He's gone up the inside of turn 4, but he's managed to pull it off this time. And Nandi just threads the needle. Well, Lamborghini rather tries to thread the needle. He almost got two, certainly got Samson Chan, and continues the battle on. That was a nice move. Bilski doing what he can to get through the GTM class cars. And now it's the Lamborghini. They try and take the position away down the inside. No, just backs out of it. Allows Bilski to continue to lead in the number 99 Craft Bamboo Racing Aston. Again a drag race. The FL2 GT3 Lamborghini with the mid-mounted 5.4 litre V10 versus the... He spun too much power on the exit. Let's just loop the car. No, he's done it again. And just see if we can see who that is behind the wheel. Does it look like it's Delanta? Can't quite tell from that angle. It might be Nandi. Well, that's disappointment for them. You've got to be careful going cross country. We're talking about those aero aids in the front of the car. The ride heights are very low, and you don't want to do too much damage to the front splitter because that'll have a big impact on your lap speed. Nasrat Nazayan on screen, being closed down now by Hiroshi Hamaguchi, who's got lights ablaze and doing everything he can to extract every ounce of performance out of that lovely McLaren MP412C, of course, leading the championship points as the lights flashing. Just going for the intimidation technique. Let's just see if we can't push Nasrat to the point where he'll make an error, allow us through, because there's not much left in this race, and he'll be very keen to make up position. This is over position 4. The Spirit of Race Ferrari is currently holding position number 4. The McLaren holding position number 5. Beautiful shot of this gorgeous Herman Tilke built 5.543 kilometre Sepang International Circuit, 60 kilometres south of the Kuala Lumpur capital of Malaysia. A lovely facility. It's nice to come here and race. The temperature, okay, little testing, but everybody's in the same condition, and all the teams need to be able to battle around it. Of course, one of the very best at doing that is the man behind the wheel of the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari, local driver Mok Weng Sun, is a hero in the region, 2-time champion of the GT Asia Series, one here last time around in the GT Asia Series for round 8, one here 2 weeks later, his second Sepang 12-hour victory, leading here now. It's the closing lap of this race, and this looks like it'll be another victory to the Clearwater Racing team, and this is valuable championship points for he and teammate Kita Soa as they go after the championship against their teammates Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi. Great victory to them, fantastic result for the Clearwater Racing team, and for Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu, that was a brilliant drive by them. Anthony Liu's really become a superstar in this series. He takes the number 37 Ferrari back to pit lane. Nice result for them. That closes them in on the points leaders, Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi. And the big question now is whether or not Hamaguchi will be able to make his way past the Nasrat Nazayan Ferrari. Just watching, it looks like Jackie Young taking victory in the GTM class. With the Tsukume Oki, Kenny Rata Lamborghini behind. Now it's the it's one of the GTM class Ferraris running wide. So Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi will take that position away. But what's been a great result too is Lucas Guerrero and Max Weiser have snuck through whilst we were looking at the battles through the field and taken position number 3 for the NB team Aston Martin Vantage. So that's a nice result for them too. That's Christopher Mees and Jeffrey Lee coming across the line to take position 8. The number 22 Ferrari 458 Taiwan Top Speed Racing Challenge Class car of Nikeo and KS Wang have come off the circuit. Nice result. That's the 4th victory of the season for the 2014 season. Very happy Kita Soa and Mok Weng Sun will not be too unimpressed with that. Anthony Liu, well, Anthony's never happy if he doesn't win, but he must be very happy with his performance this weekend. He's done a great job doing what he has been doing this year with teammate Davide Rizzo alongside, and Max Weiser and Lucas Guerrero. A nice result for them. That is another podium for the NB team, the Chinese team's debut year in the GT Asia Series. A fine result. That is fantastic. 3rd place. Kudos to you, boys. That's great. That will move them up in the championship order too. But for Mok Weng Sun and Kita Soa, 4 wins. That closes the championship down now. There's about 7 points in it between themselves now, and actually 4 points in it rather, if I get my mathematics right, between them and teammates Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. But also closing in, and they've got to be very mindful of the guys standing beside them. Anthony Liu might look a little disappointed, but the reality is, and their debut year in this championship against teams like Craft Bamboo Racing and Clearwater Racing, they are well within strike of the championship victory. Jackie Young takes the lead now in the points for the GTM class. Marchie Lee right alongside him. This isn't a position that Marchie Lee's a stranger to. Ken Urata and the boys are lifting Takuma Aoki onto the podium. And here's a guy who loves his motorsport. Front runner in the 500cc Grand Prix series a number of years ago. Was very badly hurt during a testing accident, became a paraplegic, picked up motor racing again, and actually Delantha Malagamua, in an interesting story, was also a 125 GP rider many years ago, the Sri Lankan, competed against the Aoki brothers, and he actually stepped forward and offered the LP 520 Lamborghini to be converted to hand control so that Aoki could join the team, and they've continued that friendship on. Ken Urata is very happy to be back, and he was very emotional last time out here because he'd made the first victory ever in his career despite many years racing cars, so he's rapt to be back alongside Takuma Aoki. And of course Thomas Fjordbach and George Chu, they too are happy to stay within striking range of Jackie Jung in this championship. You see the young Danes worked very hard over that closing section, and George Chu, the bodybuilder, he's the team owner, of course, of the Taiwan Top Speed Racing team, is very happy with his charge and with the result that they've had here this weekend. So there you go. So wrapping up very quickly, Kitasara and Mokweng Sun take the victory, 27 laps, 1 hour into round 9 of the championship. Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu, second overall. Lucas Guerrero and Max Weiser, third. Rob Bell, Hiroshi Tamaguchi, fourth. And Roy Glass and Nazareth Razane, position 5. We'll see you again in 24 hours for round 10 of the GT Asia Series from Sepang International Circuit.